Hey everyone, it's Suzi here, and today we're playing Reverse 1999. For today's video, we're going to start another one of my one-week playthrough series. Should we play Reverse 1999? Is it still worth checking out a year later? Alright, so it's actually a year and a half later, and that's interesting to me because it feels like it was so soon, but time flies. But one thing I know I need to do is turn on the sound. Turn up the volume just a little bit. And this game is known to have amazing music, story, and voiceover characters based on the conversations that I've seen. And I loved the vibe, even though it's got that anime gacha vibe that maybe a lot of people on this channel that are following me don't necessarily like. I think it's something that people could consider to play. And no, this is not a sponsorship or anything. I'm just doing my one-week series again, checking out a game for 1 week, and then doing a review. How does it feel for a new player coming into it? So we're gonna do things a little bit different this time around. I'll quickly click through here. We just had a big update. Version 2.5. Showdown in Chinatown just had a big update here added. There was a 1.5 year anniversary celebration, and I'm really curious to get to know these unique characters. Their vibe is just so cool. Their characters are cute. And I know that there's a lot of story that really goes into this. So that's what I'm curious about. I'm not gonna story skip. We're gonna check it out properly. Alright, so what I'm gonna do is, well, download the game. It's on PC, Apple, and Google Play, so I'm just gonna download the PC client. But first, for this video, we're gonna watch and react to a beginner guide by what looks to be one of the top CCs for the game. Alright, so I'm gonna put this on 1.25 times speed. I think 1.5 feels a little too fast, and 1 point, yeah, any higher would have been crazy. This CN version of Veterans Updated Beginner Guide for Reverse 1999. Steamed Bun X, so he has a lot of subscribers, and this video has 51,000 views. Yes. So I think it's well watched. And yeah, it's only 20 minutes long, so it won't be too bad with the sped up. So we're gonna try to watch it and only comment a little bit. We'll see how it goes.
It's been a year since Reverse 99.
Oh wait, before I get into it, I would not normally recommend watching a beginner guide as your first video checking out a game because nothing makes sense and you're just looking at systems and all of that terminology and everything could be overwhelming. But as someone who's played a lot of gacha games, I kind of felt like this was okay for me to do. I felt like it was suited because it at least give me an idea of how it compares to other gachas. I played so many hero collector style games, and I think I'll be able to at least understand the gist of how things are gonna work, and it might give me a good idea. But yeah, I would not recommend this if you're new to the genre. And if you're new to my channel, I should probably mention that, yeah, I've been a long-term player of this genre since, I don't even know. I've played video games since I was a kid, but Raid was my first. Raid Shadow Legends was my first gacha game per se, with the way the RNG and hero collectors are. And I've played a lot of other games since. And I do have Bell's Palsy. I'm a derpy pirate, so if this is your first time finding me and you're like, oh, she looks a little weird, I feel like something's not quite right. My face is only like half working. Okay, for real now.
99 went global, and a lot has changed over the course of the patches. With all the new players joining recently for the Robot Mommy, I think it's a good time to make a new beginner guide for the game. Unlike my usual game where I try to make the video as short and casual as possible, we're going to be looking into the many aspects of this game
This is a
in the
few
video,
months old,
so
though.
it will be a bit longer. But don't worry, I've added timestamps so you can jump straight to the section that interests you the most. I do appreciate if you can watch this video all the way through though, as it boosts the retention and helps out with the algorithm a lot. We'll start by breaking down the progression system in this game. In Reverse 1999, character progression revolves around three main things: leveling, insight, and resonance.
Love the
When you unlock a
vibe.
new character, their max level start at level 30. Once you hit that cap, you can upgrade their insight level. Every time a character's insight is upgraded, it unlocks a new passive ability, increase their max level by 10, and reset their level back to 1.
Oh,
The good
okay, it
news
goes
is,
higher.
even though their level resets, you don't have to worry about them getting weaker. For 5 and 6 star characters, you can upgrade them up to insight 3 with a max level of 60. Lower star characters max out at insight 2 and level 50. Most of the times, it's best to stop at insight 3 and level 30. Leveling up costs progressively more while the stats increase stay the same, and going past level 30 after insight 3 is not necessary for clearing any content. Only push to level 60 when you have a lot of excessive resources but no character to build.
Really?
Now let's also talk about the materials required.
So that is interesting. I wouldn't normally think that you would level up a bunch of characters only 3-star, level 30 or whatever, and just stop. That feels weird. You normally would take like one character to max very quickly, or if the max level is 60, I think you would take everything to 50 as fast as possible at least. At least in every other gacha I've played, so I would have probably made that mistake early on, but we'll see how it flows and how it feels just to play naturally. I'm not going to remember much from the beginner guide anyway, as this is just a quick general overview
For insight upgrades, because this is something you'll need to keep in mind as you progress through the early game. Most of the basic materials are pretty easy to get and self-explanatory. However, when it comes to the yellow and orange inside materials, things get a little trickier. To get the yellow materials, you'll need to upgrade your wilderness and unlock the wishing spring, which acts as a crafting station of the higher tier materials. And to craft orange tiered materials, which are needed for upgrading character to insight 3, you'll also need to beat a hard mode of a specific stage in chapter 4. If you haven't made it that far yet, don't stress too much either, because there is a workaround: the event shop. In Reverse 1999, there are two types of patches: main story patches and event patches. Regardless of which patch you're in, there will always be an event shop that lasts for the duration of the patch. These shops are extremely stamina efficient and offers all the key items you need, including materials for insight, free pulls, and the signature Psychube for the first banner character of the patch. To get the event currency you need for those shops, you can either farm the last event stage during the event patch or just spend stamina during regular patches. My advice is to always prioritize clearing out the event shop, no matter where you are in your progression. It's one of the best ways to help raise your character in the early game. Of course, that doesn't include the signature Psychube if you're not pulling for the character. Resonance is another crucial part of
I do like hearing that event shops are good.
character progression. Every character has a resonance board, and as you upgrade it, you'll see significant boost in the character's stats. Resonance level can go all the way up to 15, but most times level 10 is more than enough, as it unlocks the final size expansion of the resonance board. If you want to optimize your resonance, I recommend checking out some online resources like the Private Resonance Guide or the Convenient Google Sheet. For your convenience, I'll link both of them in the comment section down below. Since Reverse 1999 is a gacha game, we can't forget about dupe system, which in this game is called Portrait. Basically, every time you get an additional copy of a character, it enhances a part of that character's kit, maxing out at 5 extra copies. If you are playing free to play, my advice is completely ignore dupe for the most part. None of the game's content require you to have dupe of any of your 6-star characters. That said, if you do have extra pulls to spare, getting dupes can sometimes make your character more versatile and allow them to fit into a wider variety of team compositions. Now let's talk about the Psychube, which in Reverse 1999 is essentially the weapon system, and this comes with a base stat, special percentage stats, and a passive effect. Maxing out your character's Psychube is really important, especially for your DPS character, since it provides a significant boost to their stats. You can strengthen the passive effect of a Psychube in two ways. First, by using duplicate Psychubes, which has mostly been phased out
Typical.
now, and second, by using Gluttony, a resource that you can often obtain from events and also Battle Pass. If a character is released in the first half of a patch, their signature Psychube will be available in the event shop. If they're released in the second half, you'll find their Psychube in the regular Psychube shop for Psychube currencies. But don't stress too much about missing out any of them if you just started, because they will come back and get added to the shop permanently after 3 patches. Additionally, you'll get some 5-star Psychube each patch from the Anecdotes system, but for most part, avoid upgrading this 5-star Psycubes.
I love the UI.
The 6-star
This
Psycubes
feels
are
different.
just much stronger. For beginners, I highly recommend go to the Psychube shop and pick up a copy of Inquisitive Deer, which is a great universal healer Psychube, and also pick up a Blasphemer of the Night or his Bonded Duty for your DPS. You will also get to pick up one of them for free after 7 days of login. Alright, now that we've covered the character progression stuff, let's dive into how the gacha system works in Reverse 1999. It's a gacha game after all. The base rate of pulling a 6-star character is 1.5%, and the soft pity kicks in at 60 pulls, with a guaranteed pity at 70 pulls. Like most gacha game nowadays, there is also a 50-50 system where you might pull a standard character instead of readout character. Worst case scenario, it could take you up to 140 pulls to get a specific character, but thankfully that doesn't ever happen since the base rate is fairly high. Additionally, newly released characters are added to the standard pool after 3 patches, which means you can start losing 50-50 to them at that point. Now, there is actually 3 types of banner in Reverse 1999, the regular banner, the true limited banner, and the scam banners, and the rules of pity differs depending on the type of banner you're pulling from.
Banners.
The regular banner includes the release banner of the new character, rerun banner, and the standard banner. The pity between all of these banners are shared, and it will never be reset. There is also something called a true limited banner, which appears every 3rd patch. This patch are bigger, with more content and more pulls, but they also come with a true limited unit. Unlike regular banners, this character don't go into the standard pool after 3 patches, and their banner don't rerun for at least a year. On top of that, true limited banners run for the entire patch instead of just half, and their pity is completely separate from other banners. For every 200 pulls on a true limited banner, you can exchange the currency you earn for an additional copy of that character, which is a huge benefit for people who's interested in their portrait. Aside from the true limited banners, you'll also occasionally see scam banners like selection banner or dual banner. Now, a word of caution, just like true limited banners, none of those banners share pity, and they can be a bit of gamble. With dual banner, for instance, you have a 70% chance to pull one of the 2 featured characters instead of 50-50, but there is no guarantee which one you will get, so unless you're okay with either of the character, you might end up with something you don't want and no pity progress carried over. So unless you're a spender who's really set on the character from those special banners, or you run into a good one like the current one that lets you select a single character you want to pull from, it's better to focus on the regular banners, especially if you want to make the most out of your pulls and avoid wasting resources. Now that we've covered the basic of gacha system, let's go back.
Normally I would think to try to pull on the special banners and not the standard banners. Although I guess it's so funny how different every gacha is. Or how like a lot of the Asian based gachas versus the Western ones I played, they're so different. I don't know how deep I'm going to dive into that for the 1 week of gameplay. I'm going to kind of read through things and also try to do what feels right. And that's part of judging how the game guides you too. When I do my videos, I want to just have a little bit of knowledge for this game in particular. I think I'm going to do not a blind play like I'm watching this video right now, but I want to go in and see how well the game guides you, and is it easy to make huge mistakes? Are the tutorials good? Are the descriptions of everything good? I kind of want to take a look at all of that stuff too. So maybe if you guys are looking for a game to play, those kind of, I guess that kind of feedback will help you decide if this could be one for you.
Back to progression, specifically the characters that are worth building, and also how should you pull in the early game. One of the 5-star that I think everyone should raise is Soneto. She is a free character who's fantastic for early game progression. Soneto provides your team with buff that offers both damage reduction and damage bonus. On top of that, her ultimate is an AoE, which is very useful in those early fights. Another good character is Necrologist. If you're looking for a top tier utility character, Necrologist is your go-to. She's the only 5-star who can truly compete with 6 stars thanks to her revive passive and the damage boost from her ultimate. With that being said, she's not as useful in the early game as she doesn't perform quite as well in 3-man team as she is in 4-man fight, since she needs her ultimate to be useful. If you're looking for a free-to-play friendly healer, Bloom Party and Yenisai are solid choices. They may not have the critical buff 6-star healers provide, which is apparently a stable now. They get the job done when it comes to healing, which makes the content a lot easier to deal with. Lorelei is another strong support option. She can provide your team with benefit without needing to take direct action, and you can get her for free from the roguelike mode. Lastly, there is Semowes, a 6-star character you can get for free if you logged in during patch 1.9. She's absolutely worth building as a new player. Simoas can function as both a support and also a sub
Well, it's a little
DPS
too late
thanks
for
to
that.
her ultimate. She is a powerhouse that will carry you through much of the early game with her aggressive damage bonuses and critical buffs. And if you're struggling to find a good DPS early on, Ego is a great choice. Even though she is a 4-star character with no Insight 3, her kit offers plenty of damage at Insight 2. She can easily carry you through early content without draining too much of your resources. But those are just mostly 5-star options. Which 6-star character are worth pulling for as you progress through Reverse 1999? Well, there is no particular character you should be aiming for. Instead, your priority should be doing what you can to form 2 synergetic teams. Some characters work much better when paired together, creating combos where 1 plus 1 is greater than 2. For example, when Marcus was first released, she wasn't seen as a very strong character, but over time, as new characters were added to the game, Marcus became much more powerful, especially with her incantation rank up system. Now, I know this video is already getting pretty long, so instead of walking through every possible combo, I'll just put together a list of some of the strongest combo in the current meta. Feel free to screenshot it for reference. Have any of this combo on your team will make the game much easier to manage. My advice is to find yourself 1 strong DPS and 1 reliable survivalist first, regardless of the synergy. This combination
Okay.
will help you get past most early game and mid game content. For the upcoming patches, if you haven't yet, I highly recommend snatching Villa and Winsong if they show up on a regular rerun banners. They are currently pretty universally good and will destroy a lot of content. On average, as a free-to-play player, you can aim to build 2 to 3 characters up to Insight 3 and Resonance 10 per patch, so make sure to not spread yourself too thin. Now that we are finally done with the characters, let's dive into the different game modes in Reverse 999 and also the currency type tied to them. Let's start with the Wilderness. In the early game, you should only worry about Wilderness for its Wishing Sprint, aka the crafting table. Do look to grab the planes and the buildings from the events to increase the vigor of your Wilderness, which boosts the resource output from the building. But until your team can stably clear Limbo, you should not focus on upgrading Wilderness buildings. Also, don't forget to do as much bonding with different Arcanists as possible, as there are quite a bit of clear drops reward from it. By now, you
I
should
love
already
that.
be familiar with the material farming stages, but one stage that's a little bit different from the rest is the Psychube analysis. This mode gives you 2 free runs per day, which you should never ignore as it actually gives you more reward than regular runs. The main reward of this mode are fodder Psychubes, which is useful for upgrading your existing Psychube, and also the currency you need for the Psychube shop. There are 2 types of currencies in the shop. The white currency is best spent on LF realization, which are used to ascend your Psycube, and enlightenment, which are used for Psycube EXP. So avoid spending on 5-star Psycubes since the 6-star ones are simply stronger. The colored currency is used for 6-star Psycube or Gladnies, which are needed to enhance Psycube passives. If you missed the event Psycube in the past, they will be added to the Psycube shop permanently after 3 patches. Once you have exchanged for all the Psycube you need, any leftover currency should be spent on Gladney. But I do recommend keeping at least 300 of the color currency on hand, so you are ready to grab the signature
It's
Psycube of your
information
character
overload,
should you decide to
especially
go
at
for them. Remember, you
speed.
can only get 10 free color currency
That's
per day, and any extra will cost stamina or come as event rewards. Now let's talk about one of the most important endgame modes, Artificial Somnambulism. This mode is split into 2 parts, Surface and Limbo. Surface consists of 10 stages, with each stage having multiple fights. As you progress through the later stages, you'll begin to need more than 4 characters, because the character you use in a fight won't be locked out temporarily for the next fight. Surface serves just as a warm-up, and Limbo is where things actually get serious. Limbo is the true endgame content where you test your team's strength and resets every 2 weeks. Clearing Limbo rewards you with a significant amount of clear drops, which are used for gacha pulls. This is the primary mode you will be aiming to clear as your count grows stronger. Once you're able to fully clear Limbo, you are in a good spot to push your count further in the direction you want and explore other game mode at your own pace. Even if you're not interested in the gacha pulls, you shouldn't ignore Limbo either. The currency you earn from the mode is crucial for upgrading your character's resonance through the Ornic shop, where materials used for resonance upgrade are sold. Another important endgame content is Main's Bulletin. Think of this mode as a raid mode, where you have 30 turns to deal as much damage as possible. The reward you earn from here comes in the form of a ticket-like currency, which can be spent in Main's Trust shop. As you fight, the raid boss gains reconstruct stacks for each bar of HP they lost. The stacks give the boss both damage reduction and damage bonus, which make it much harder to reach a higher score. Main's Bulletin is heavily focused on boss-specific mechanics, meaning that sometimes even less meta characters
I have to say, like, a first impression, it's definitely like it's a weird mixture of like that cheesy little cartoony chibi almost like fighting style that, you know, a lot doesn't necessarily appeal to me normally, or I guess I would say to a lot of my audience on this channel that have played games like Eternal Evolution and Dragonair. It's a weird mix of yeah, that plus like really beautiful art. and good sounds, and I look forward to hearing the voice acting as well. But yeah, I think it's actually really pretty and really well done. And the UI feels different, and the tones are really cool, and even the animations are pretty nice. So, not bad for this sort of style of gameplay.
Can outperform highly built popular ones if they fit into the boss specific gimmick. The more characters you have built, the easier it will be to adapt to this mechanics, but it has been pretty easy to reach the required score for maximum reward with any well-built team. Clearing the shop that resets should always be your priority when shopping. Another thing is, starting with patch 2.1, a new mode will be added to mains that will allow you to use free character with modified kit. This will make it much easier to fully clear this mode even for newer players, and it's a great opportunity to gather more resources and accelerate your progress. Another permanent mode we have is called A Series of Dusk, which is a roguelike mode. This mode doesn't need to be rushed as the rewards are cumulative and can be earned at any time. However, it's packed with high-grade upgrade materials, so while you don't have to clear it right away, it's definitely worth focusing on when you have the chance. You will be asked to pick up a path at the beginning of your run, and during the run, you should look to find more synergetic artifacts that works with the path you pick and also the character you're running with. I'm not going to go into detail for this one because that would easily double the length of this video. Similarly to roguelike mode, the third door is also a permanent mode that you can clear anytime for the rewards, but unlike the roguelike mode, the third door is more puzzle focused rather than combat focused. If you find yourself stuck, especially on the first challenge, don't worry too much, you can find plenty of guides on YouTube to help you out. This mode is another great way to get reward in the early game, so it's worth tackling when you need some extra resources to help you progress. UTTU is a special mode that opens for the second half of every patch. UTTU itself is not actually a very difficult mode, especially now that you can borrow someone else's character to help you with it. In UTTU, you can equip each Arcanist with some Fame card and also equip the team with Premium card, both providing additional effect to the team. And with each new UTTU come with some kind of broken strat that let you crash through the mode with ease, even if your team is not well built. Lastly, let's touch on the Anecdote. Each patch in Reverse 1999 adds 2 new Anecdotes, which are essentially character stories. Once you complete the story, you unlock additional reward through Reminiscence. These rewards include a special signature Psychube made for the character featured in Anecdote, and also a Greed, which is the 5-star version of Gluttony. So far, the Anecdote haven't been game-changing for Global, but that's about to change with patch 2.0. In patch 2.0, there will be a Siltby Psychube that can increase poison damage, and also in patch 2.2, there will be a 37 Psychube that boosts Genesis damage and critical damage for all of her attacks.
Reality defense and mental defense. Oh boy. That's definitely going to tie into the story, isn't it?
Which is significantly better Psychube than the original one if your 37 does take actions in fight. There is one more shop I want to talk about that's unrelated to any game mode directly. That is the pity shop. Every time you make a pull, you earn pity currency depending on your result. And there are 2 types of pity currency you can get, blue and gold. For the blue pity, you can exchange for a limited amount of Unilog per month, and you can gather enough each month to clear the Unilog from the shop even without pulling by clearing the weekly missions. For the gold pity currency, there is no monthly cap on amount of Unilog you can purchase. You can also consider to save enough to exchange for the 6-star character in the shop. That is, if you can save that much up. Finally, let's wrap things up by circling back to the topic of early game progression and give you some general advices. If you join the game during a main story patch, one of your top priorities should be clearing as far into the main story as possible. Not only will this give you more clear drop of your pulls, but also unlock better stages for farming inside materials. However, if you joined during an event patch, it's totally fine to slow down on the story and focus on farming event currency instead. Event shops are extremely stamina efficient and are significantly better than regular farming stages. Also consider to save enough to exchange for the 6-star character in the shop. That is, if you can save that much up. Finally, let's wrap things up by circling back to the topic of early game progression and give you some general advices. If you join the game during a main story patch, one of your top priorities should be instead. Event shops are extremely stamina efficient and are significantly better than regular farming stages. You will feel a difficulty increase in the middle of Chapter 5. If you feel stuck, focus on upgrading your main DPS first, then your healers. I would not worry too much about support at the early game stages, as long as they're not having too much trouble surviving and they don't absolutely need their Insight 3 passive. When you come to Limbo, it might feel challenging at first, but with a well planned out progression, you should get 2 functional team in about 2 to 3 patches, which is all it takes to clear the Limbo. And lastly, always plan for the true limited characters, especially with us global players able to have future sight for it. True limited characters tend to be very powerful, have 10 free pulls during their patch, and offers a free copy at 200 pulls. Even without their portrait, they remain extremely strong and have very unique strengths. Plus, there won't be another chance of getting them for at least a year. And that's pretty much everything to know about Reverse 1999. As someone who has been playing the game for a long time,
Oh
I
boy.
might have missed a pinpoint or two of the new players. So if you have any question, feel free to join my Discord and ask. You can also catch me on my streams. While I'm not always streaming Reverse 1999, I'll still be happy to answer any of your questions. A special thanks for those who watched all the way to the end, and as always, this has been...
Okay, so this was longer videos. Sorry, guys. I wanted to actually watch one of these with you, and you guys can let me know if you are a current player and you're curious about someone checking out a game that you love. Let me know if you have any beginner tips in the comments below, or if you watch this and you're like, oh my god, that is so wrong, or something changed and that's not true at all anymore. Let us know in the comments below, as other new players might see this video too. But yeah, I'm going to do my next video regarding a first 1 hour of gameplay. We're going to play through it properly, no story skipping, audio on, and try to enjoy the experience of everything the game is trying to deliver. And then I will also probably do a separate video for promo codes if there are any. I will go digging so you guys can find those easily. I will or double check to see if you've missed any. I'm pretty good at digging for those, and I'll do a video at the end of the week. Well, I'll definitely do a summoning video, and then a video at the end of 1 week of playing, so like 7 days of playing. Kind of a little review of what was the experience like, what did I like and what did I not like, all that fun stuff. But yeah, let me know in the comments below if you were a player of this game, or are you like a lot of us and we're in search of a gacha game to play while we wait for Godforge to come out.